Hi, this is Ninja2Dan again for 762 High Caliber. In the last video we covered some of the basics of body armor, some of the basic stats, camouflage equipment. In this video we're going to be covering some of the most basic equipment they're going to be using that is not part of your weapons or offensive capabilities. These are going to include medical supplies, camouflage kits, weapon cleaning kits, as well as some of the other accessories. Please note that some of these items are not going to be available until later on in the game. So if you see something, you're really liking it, but you can't find it in your game, it means that either you're going to the wrong merchants, or more than likely, you're not at a high enough game level. Because a lot of the items that I'm going to be showing you in the inventory here are from higher game levels, it's probably a good idea to explain how the game level system works. When you press I and go into your character's inventory, you'll see your black book, which is your kill book. When you go to view your statistics, as noted in one of the earlier guides, you're going to see your CGL, or current game level, in addition to your player class level. Your player class level is raised up by going out and getting kills. So for example here, kills to next level 29. When this individual character kills 29 more people, he will advance to another level. Every time you advance a new level, you get attribute points that you're able to assign. Same goes for any of your team members. For so many kills, they level up, and then you're able to distribute points between some of their skills. Your game level is not dependent on your class level. You can go out and spend 3 weeks of real time playing the game, doing nothing but going out hunting down and killing bandits, looting them, and accruing $3 billion in the game and piles of loot. It will not matter. You can have all the money in the world, but the vendors are still going to carry the exact same stuff based on your current game level. The game level, CGL, can only be increased by completing missions. At the same time, completing missions will have no effect at all towards your player's class level. The only way you're going to advance your player class level is by kills. Obviously, certain missions are going to require you to go out and kill stuff. So by getting those kills, you are working towards advancing your player level. But whoever gets those kills can be any one of your characters. Your current game level is going to be determined by the missions that you complete. Not every mission is going to increase the level. For example, if you're just doing random delivery missions, it's probably not going to work towards getting you level up as much. If you start doing main storyline missions or some of the side missions added through Blue Sun mod, that on the other hand is going to help you advance through your CGL a lot faster. The CGL is going to determine, one, what items that merchants carry. So a higher CGL means that your merchants are going to be selling a lot better equipment. It also means that the enemy that you encounter is also likely to have much better equipment, higher skill levels. At the earlier levels in the game, characters that you come across, bandits, they're probably going to be paying a little bit of attention to weapons and armor. So they might have pistols, basic old school submachine guns, shotguns, some ratty old rifles. Never going to be having any body armor, so it'll be easier for you to kill them, but at the same time what you get off their bodies is going to be worth little. As you advance through the CGLs, they're going to start having much better equipment. They might start getting to the point where they're having a lot better ammunition, such as armor piercing. They might start wearing body armor. They also might start using night vision. So you want to keep up with the CGL at a fairly equal rate of your player level as well as your finances. You don't want to get to the point where you're at CGL 10, the enemy is now starting to wear more body armor using larger caliber weapons while your character is still sitting there with basic skills and you can't even afford a helmet. So I would say, instead of trying to just fast complete as many missions as you can, take it at a pace enough to where as you're completing missions, you're also traveling and killing people in random encounters. when you do have random encounters, it's not always bad to simply reload from a quick save and try to avoid those encounters, but you should not be afraid to go and actively finish those encounters as well. A lot of those random encounters are going to be the main way that you level up your skills and obtain the loot that you're able to sell off for better equipment. The CGL is also going to be basing what the special merchants have available. So for example, some of your super awesome merchants that are based down here in Calicantinos are going to offer a lot more equipment. If you contact Bobby Ray or Uribe on the radio, they're usually going to have some of their better end stuff. But your CGL is going to determine what those merchants have available. So when you look and see a lot of the weaponry that is in my personal collection right now, it is because I'm at CGL 12. There's a total of 16 CGLs, so I'm getting up there fairly high as far as what's going to be available to me. So don't freak out if you see things that you're not seeing on the vendors right now. So some of your basic equipment that you're going to find, you will find your medical equipment. You're going to find weapon cleaning kits. You're going to find tape, camo kits. Later on, you're very rarely, but you will find repair tools, modular kits. Spare barrels are something that you find later on for your light and medium machine guns. The medical items, there's one that I do not use, so I can go ahead and show you what that looks like at one of the vendors. It is one of the items you're generally getting earlier on in the game. For medical supplies, there are 4 types. You have the individual bandage kit, an individual medical kit, the universal first aid kit, and your field medic pack. The skill level that a person has in the medical skill is going to determine how well they're able to use the kit. Some of the more advanced medical supplies, you can't even use them without a high medical skill. So some of your medics, if you look at the doctor skill, and when you're in this inventory screen, right click and hold over a character. If you look on the stat list, bottom right, doctor, hers is 77 compared to 43, 31, 31. So the higher skill they have, the more effectively they can use the medical equipment. Out of everybody that's in my team, my medic is probably only one that is able to use the larger medical pack. If you look at the basic kit, it does not have any bonus. It is also the smallest, lightest, and cheapest. The next model up has a decreasing 25% of the time to heal, which means you'll heal 25% faster. The larger kit will go up to 50%, while the major medical bag is at 75%. See if I can show you really quick what that will do. So as you can see, I've now just shot my medic. The icons, this is just showing that rounds are being fired in the direction. This just shows they've been hit. If you look at the bars here, you can see that they have both dropped a bit. The black spot means that it's a permanent decrease for the time being. The lighter color means that that is their current level, while the darker is their maximum level. For example, here, the lighter color means that her health level is now at this point. In reality, this is her health now, but As she bleeds out, it will slowly drop down to that point, at which case bleeding will stop regardless. So if I sit here and you can see the red numbers floating overhead, along with this darker portion of the bar slowly sinking, that means that that character is gradually bleeding out. If they take a lot of hits, the lighter portion of it might be all the way down here, while the darker portion might still be up top. If you allow them to continue to bleed out, that bar can drop all the way down to that one point. But if you use a medical kit and choose Heal Self, you will see the red cross symbol around them as they heal. Initially, if you are in combat, they will heal up to the spot that allows them to at that time. Right now we are not in combat, so the system will actually allow her to heal fully. So the first time you use it, boom, you're capped, you're topped off. Outside of combat, when you choose to heal yourself again, it will actually allow you to do a full heal. Again, the better the medical kit, the faster the healing process is. While you are in combat, if you have any wounded limbs, such as your head, arms, legs, torso, they will be red. In combat, you cannot heal those using the smaller, more basic medical kits. You must use some of the bigger, larger kits. That kit would either be the universal first aid kit or that really big medical bag. A trained medic with one of the larger medical kits not only will heal people faster, but even in combat can treat wounded body portions. If you have a damaged head, your vision will be reddish color or whited out, very difficult to see. You'll be less accurate engaging the enemy. If you have wounded arms, it'll be more difficult for you to accurately hit the enemy. And if you have wounded legs, you won't be able to run. Your character might even be hobbling or crawling. As I said, the medic in your team is usually the only person that's going to be able to use the better first aid kits, but everybody is able to use the more basic kits. For that reason, if you're in combat, you need to stop bleeding as soon as you can. If your medic is not able to get to that person in time, if you don't stop bleeding, they just bleed out and die. Another thing is for your medic to move over, switch to a medical kit, and then start treating your patient. That medic is now also in the line of fire. If they get hit, they stop treating temporarily, or they might even get killed, pass out, whatever. It's always a good idea that if you do get hit at the earliest chance you can, use your own individual kit, put it in your inventory, and heal yourself. On the other hand, for our medic, let's just say that this character here has been wounded. So we'll go ahead and give him a quick blast. So that character's been jacked up a little bit. So as you can see, he has some shock damage and he is bleeding. Now that our medic has a medical kit in her hand, wherever your mouse cursor is, if it is in an empty spot, when you right click, it will turn to the treat icon. When it's over a valid target, the hand turns from a blank white color to a fleshy color, and the treat will also show you the time to do so. When you left click, it will then tell her to go and treat that person. Anytime an item has been used up, it will turn red. Because she already used it a few times on herself, it is junk. Right click, drop the item. They will then start using the medical kit on that person, in which case you will see their treat time drop. Again, the first time that you use it, it is simply to stop the bleeding. The second time you use it is to continue treating it even further. Treat times, if it's a higher amount when they're in the process of actually treating, it will stay paused at a certain time. Then as it finishes up the treating process, it will count down to where it stops. So that's the basic of how you heal. As far as your cleaning kits, when you look at your weapons, as a weapon is being used and fired, it will slowly accumulate dirt. So we're just going to go ahead and put a decent amount of rounds out of this weapon. So as you can see, the more you use it, the more dirt accumulates. Once the dirt level gets to a certain point, the weapon starts taking additional wear. Once the wear gets to a certain point, the weapon will start having failures to feed, failure to fire, and eventually it will break, no longer be usable unless it is repaired. A good idea is after every firefight, clean your weapon. To clean a weapon, whatever weapon is currently in your hand, you have a cleaning kit, click and hold the left mouse button to drag it. Let go of the left mouse button over the weapon, and then place it back into one of your pockets. That character will then get down to a kneeling position and start cleaning their weapon. Once the weapon is clean, dirt level is back down to 0. By maintaining your weapons properly, you'll make sure that they have the ability to last a lot longer without taking a substantial amount of damage. Sometimes, though, you will find either that the weapons you're using, if you were lazy and forgot to clean them properly, or possibly weapons that you've recovered from enemies, might not just be dirty, but they might also be damaged. We'll go ahead and use our medic for this, or sorry, our mechanic. See if I have any weapons that I forgot to repair. Generally, I try to repair everything before I put it into my vault. I think this is one I just recently looted. So as you can see here, either through the stats shown on the bottom left of the screen, you can see its wear is at 2%, dirt is at 4%. That's not generally that bad. If I were to clean it, the dirt will go down to 0, wear will stay at 2. That's not really that bad. It's not at risk of failing yet. But if you were to have the repair kit, the repair kit can be anywhere in your inventory, does not matter. What matters is what weapon is physically in your hands at that time. If you right click and choose repair weapon, one of two things will happen. He'll either say weapon repaired or epic fail. Epic fail means he failed. He actually caused more damage to the weapon. This time he was successful, so the weapon's dirt and wear are now back down to 0. The weapon is fresh, good to go. If while you're repairing it, you start to damage the weapon because your mechanic skill is too low, it'll get to the point where you've damaged it below the point which you can repair it. If you are low mechanic skill, or if you have a very damaged weapon, or just a weapon that you're really not wanting to risk messing up, press F5, do a quick save before you try to repair it. That way, if during the repair process you do fail to repair it and you cause more damage, You can always quick load it and try again without the permanent risk of having to junk that weapon. So that's going to be the basics of the actual weapon repairs. One of the other options that I can show you are some of the other mod kits. At certain points from different vendors or loot sections later on in the game, you're going to find several of these different modular kits. This one is for the Glock, this one is for the Groza, this one is for the Scar, the other one is for the Bushmasters. The way that it works, as long as these items are somewhere within your inventory, if you have that particular weapon, so for example this is the Groza, this was for a Glock, and the other one was for the Scar. As long as that particular weapon is being held in your hands, which with doing this you cannot have any magazines or accessories installed on the weapon itself. So as you can see, these are all dry weapons. Any weapons that have bonds installed, you'll see the M over the top, which you can then detach those mods as necessary, which you saw me do with the magazine detach. So with the Groza in my hand, if I have the kit here in the inventory, by right-clicking on the weapon, you will see the different variants that you're able to convert it to. This is the 14A. It's a short barrel with the grenade launcher attachment. This one is the suppressed model, and this one is a shorter with the foregrip. One thing to be cautious of is when you are switching between them. There have been a few times where I've seen that the new variant it switched to did have a minor bit of damage and wear to it. Just keep an eye on that before you go taking it in the field. Same thing with the Glock. When you right click on it, you're able to switch between all the different variants and calibers. Most of these are available in stores from different merchants. These are specifically part of this modular kit, which have been added through the Blue Sun mod. You can see that this is the Glock frame inside of a carbine assembly. So you're basically able to take a Glock pistol and attach some really cool little kit to it. With the Scar, again, same thing. Right click and now you can choose between all the different variants. So not only can you choose if it's a CQB, which is going to have the short barrel and foregrip, choose a standard model or a long barrel model. You can also choose between your calibers. There's 5.56 NATO, 6.8, and 7.62 NATO. Again, you have to have magazine and all attachments removed. Whichever model you choose to convert it to, it is your own responsibility to acquire the magazines and accessories compatible with that particular variant. This was a really cool feature that I had a lot of fun with at different points, because it allows you to go through and select the different styles, which that's one of those reasons why I say you need to be saving frequently. So by being able to convert to your different variants, if you're, say, wanting to use a particular caliber of ammunition, or if you have magazines for a model that you don't have at the time, you can convert your weapon if it's one of those types. So for example, for the mag pulls, you can choose a decent selection of calibers and model types, which include barrel lengths. So you can go for a more precise long barrel variant, or for a closer in CQB model. from what I've seen so far, regardless of how many times you use those modular kits, they do not take wear. Same with the repair kits. Doesn't matter how many times you use it, it will not wear out. So it's not like limited to a certain amount of uses. You have it as long as you want it. As far as tape goes, there will be times where you have single magazines that you would like to combine. So for example, here we have the MP5 30 round magazines. Each one takes up a 2x1. As long as you have tape in your character's inventory and you have two compatible magazines, when you drag the two over each other, it will then tape them together, combining the two. So now, instead of having two individual 30 rounders that occupy separate slots, we now have two taped together, occupying the same slot. One thing that you really need to pay attention to is that this does not mean it is a 60 round magazine. This is simply two 30 rounders combined. If these are loaded into your weapon system, when it comes time to reload, it will automatically reload faster by it'll just swap them, flip it upside down, put it back in. You're not having to drop anything, you're not having to funnel with anything out of your pockets. You do still have that slight delay time of where he is doing the flip over, but again, it's faster than having to take another 30 out of your pocket. I have seen people that have thought that because it says 60, it is now a 60 round magazine. If you're using taped magazines, you want to make sure that you pay attention to that before you get into a firefight. For example, if you have the MP5 with two 30s and you're getting ready to clear a room, make sure that your ammo count doesn't say 32. That does not mean you have 32 rounds left in your magazine. There's a good chance it means that you have 2 rounds in your current mag and then a fresh 30. If you try to go into that room and clear it, you're going to get 2 rounds out before he stops to reload. That obviously could be fatal. In addition to magazines that are taped together, which as you can see there are quite a few that you can tape, these ones on the other hand are clipped. You cannot tape these, you cannot make these yourself. Clipped magazines and taped magazines will have the same capacity. The only difference is the physical appearance and sometimes function. A good example of that is if you look at the OICW, it fires the 5.56 NATO, but unfortunately it will not accept double clipped or CMags. It will only take single magazines or single taped. So even though the taped and the clipped have the same capacity, it's just the way that they're set up, it will not take it. Other magazines will not go together. For example, the HK magazines, you cannot tape them. Later on though, you're able to buy them clipped. The SR25 magazines, there is no way to tape them together. Later on though, you're able to find a drum. So a lot of magazines that are smaller capacities, 5 and 10 rounders, you cannot tape together. Oddball magazines such as the ones that load in differently, G11s or your P90, you cannot tape them together. With the MP7, because of how the magazine is inserted, most of the magazine is already in the pistol grip, only a small portion of it sticks out. The game does not allow you to tape those together. The other use for tape is if you're going to be assembling traps. I can go to a merchant and have to purchase one of the kits. If you see the tripwire kit, as long as you have tape in your inventory and you have an M67 or other grenade, honestly I do not recall what all grenades are compatible with it. If you drag the grenade over the trap and let go, he is basically taping the grenade to the stick in order to use it as a tripwire kit. Now that that has been done, this now says it's a tripwire with the grenade installed. You can then unload the grenade so you can do that as often as you want. I guess now it does not require the use of tape since the kit has its own. So that was my mistake. So I guess at this point tape is only used for the use of magazine taping. As far as the cleaning kits, there are two available. So you'll either have a horizontal or a vertical. The two are the same thing. They do the same thing. The only difference is how they occupy your bags. So like I said with the vest, for example, anything in the lower section is not shown on the other screen. Because I repair and clean weapons frequently, I keep them in my pouches. Some vests are going to have different pouch layouts. So whichever kit you go with will just depend on which is convenient for you. Oddly enough though, even though the kits weigh the same, have the same function, same durability, in the store, the merchants, I found that the vertical kits actually, for whatever reason, cost more than the horizontals. That could just be an oversight. One of the other items are camo kits are something that, let's see if I can find. So for example, this character here, the bar that's on the very far left, that is your camouflage invisibility. Right now you can see his camouflage is at 17%, while his visibility is at 71%. The reason is because he is out in the light. At 2000 it is not quite dark yet, so he's out in the open in the light. And I'm assuming that his personal camouflage skill is not that high. Camouflage kits are a single-use item. If you right-click and use item, you will then apply it. Now it's red, showing that it has been used. And you'll see now his camouflage has greatly increased and visibility has decreased. That means it's going to be a lot more difficult for the enemy to spot him. In this game it doesn't make a huge bit of difference, but it makes enough that personally I prefer to use it at times. For some reason, sometimes you will actually see the camouflage physically added to the characters' faces. Other times you will not. Why that is, I do not know. It could be because some of these characters were added through the mod. But sometimes if they have the camouflage applied, you'll actually see the camo pattern of face paint on them. Makes it a little bit easier to see if they have camo being worn or not. One thing to note about the camouflage, it is only effective in that one sector. So if we were to go to map, travel somewhere else, from my experience, the camouflage will have worn off by the time you get to your next destination. Because it is single use and it's only good for one fight, you're going to be going through it fairly often. Luckily it's not only available for sale at some of the merchants, but every once in a while you'll actually be able to loot it from dead bodies. Not only do I keep enough supply in my personal inventories, I also keep a rucksack full in my vehicle, so I always have enough there to grab them just in case. As far as spare barrels go, while they are more of a weapon accessory, I'll cover them because they're in this section. With some of the light and medium machine guns, for example with this one, we'll go ahead and show the 21E. Spare barrels are big enough that they will not fit into any of your pockets. You cannot wear them over your shoulder. You have to have them in a backpack. And for this, I'll probably want to grab some additional ammunition. to ensure that the weapon is able to actually overheat. Probably might also be a good idea to go somewhere that's not going to accidentally kill somebody. Initiate combat that will cause problems with the demonstration. And you see, because he's overweight, he's very slow. When you look at a standard weapon, you will see its white wear dirt. It will not show anything about any overheat. On the other hand, we are going to be doing full burst, just dump the whole magazines. Sorry for the long time. These hold 150 rounds. So as you can see, we're accumulating some dirt and wear, but it's not enough. One thing too is that we have our time deceleration turned on. As you can see, it's slowing down time as we fire. We're going to go ahead and turn that off for now. Amazingly, this weapon has still not overheated yet. I don't know, maybe it's because we have the barrel in our inventory already, but generally what will happen is, oh, there it is. So you're unable to see it on this screen, but if you look here, it will say overheat. So now by swapping the barrel out by dragging and releasing it over it, the weapon itself now does not have overheat, but you can see this weapon does. That overheating stays with the barrel. This barrel over time will cool down. As a barrel has been overheating, it will cause an accelerated degradation of the weapon's wear and also increases the dirt collection. An overheating barrel can also cause weapons to jam early on. So if you're going to be firing a heavy weapon like that, it's a good idea to carry spare barrels. That way, over time, they can cool off on their own while you're starting to do your thing. Generally, you're not going to sit there dumping 100 rounds at a time. In the military, obviously, we go with 3 to 5 round bursts, and you're controlling your bursts at your targets. But if you're laying down a lot of suppressive fire, which this game actually is able to take advantage of at some points, you might decide that you're going to want to go for, say, 15, 20 round bursts in the general area of the enemy. If you're continually doing that, you will start to see overheats. Or if you go up against a lot of enemy, you're going to see overheats. As you can see, the overheat warning on that barrel just went off. So the barrel has now cooled down to that point. Because a lot of these light medium machine guns aren't available until later on in the game, you are not going to be finding spare barrels for them until later in the game. But these spare barrels are available for a variety of the different light and medium machine guns. We had the HK-21E, which is 7.62 NATO. We have the HK-23E, which is 5.56 NATO. You have the Minimi, which is the 249. You have the SPW, as well as the Mark 46. Personally, in my inventory, I only have the Mark 46. And if the vendor has them, I can show you the difference. The standard Mark 46, as you can see here, is a M249 that has a railing attachment on it. This is also the standard Mark 48, which is the 7.62 version of the saw. It is fairly close to what you might find it on a M240. This one, on the other hand, is the Mark 48. It has the difference of, instead of a bipod, it has a foregrip. That being the only difference between those. The SPW is basically what they're considering as the saw paramodel, which will have the collapsible buttstock, shorter barrel. But all of those will have spare barrels. Later on, it's possible, I think you can even get spare barrels for everything else that'll actually have one. I haven't collected them yet, so it's not that big of a deal, but at least now you know how they work. That will pretty much cover the majority of any of your general equipment that you have, the exception of night vision and some of your other miscellaneous items. These are both part of a sniper scout team system I'll cover later on in their own separate video. Night vision, I guess I can cover that now. Although night vision is available as a head-mounted unit, some weapons also have them as equipment. The majority of this I'll cover in a different video, but for here you can see that we have AK and SVD mount, as well as Weaver rail, the G36 mounts, we have the HK mounts, there's also one for M16 mounts. The difference for that is the type of optic attachment your individual weapon will have. It applies to anything as far as accessories or ammunition. Whenever you hold the mouse icon over a weapon, any ammunition or accessories that are compatible with that weapon system will show up with the lighter highlighted background. So for example, with this one, if you look at my inventory, because it has the launcher installed, all the compatible grenade types are highlighted. Also, any of the optics that are compatible with it are being highlighted. Suppressors that are capable of being installed, underbarrel launchers, lasers, bipods, anything and all that is compatible with this particular weapon will be highlighted. So you can see these night vision optics here are compatible with it. Earlier on in the game, you will probably be finding the weapon mounted. These can also be purchased from Bobby Ray, while the night vision goggles are generally not available until a little bit later on, some of the first ones being looted off of the enemy. When you have night vision goggles installed, the buttons along here will show up. This one is for a flashlight, so if you're carrying a weapon, be it a pistol, rifle, shotgun, that has a flashlight installed, pressing that will turn the flashlight on and off. This person in particular has the laser device installed on their weapon, which you can see here. We can turn that laser on or off by pressing the laser button. Yellow means that it can be turned on, but it's in an inactive state. Green means that it is on. Same thing with the night vision goggles. yellow means that we are wearing them. We can press the green to show that they're on. When you install night vision onto your weapon, the aimed mode, standard aimed shot, will oftentimes be removed. The reason is because the optic is so big. Aimed mode doesn't mean you're aiming through sights. It means you're generally aiming over the sights. So that option is no longer available because that optic is so big. If you choose to look through the scope, and you can aim at a point where you're physically looking through it, you'll then see the night vision turn on. The other buttons here, which I did not cover previously, first person view is just that when you click it, it is showing you through that person's view, to include looking through scopes. Might want to have them look away. When you stop using your scope for the night vision scope, night vision turns off. We'll reinstall our ACOG. So when you look at the first person view again, then it's showing you what that person sees. If you press the F button once, it is the same as pressing the view. That is the angle of that character's view, where they're able to see. Pressing it again goes to their field of fire. This is where their individual weapon can be fired, considering their current stance, any obstacles that might be in the way. If you press aim, that will show you where they are able to be aiming. If you move the mouse around where the spyglass is, that'll show you what they can aim at. When you click it, it'll then quit moving on there. It does not mean it's going to actually fire, but allows you to get an idea of where that person is able to aim. So if you want them to aim or shoot at a particular spot, this is a kind of interesting view. If the game is paused, it'll allow you to see what your chances are of hitting a target. So you can see where you're going to shoot them at. If you're going to be firing, for example, this is in burst. We'll go ahead and change that. So if I want to shoot them in the head from this point, it'll tell me shoot at head, chances outstanding, and it tells me the enemy condition is currently healthy. It does not tell me how much damage it'll cause to the enemy. It doesn't tell me if they're wearing body armor. Generally though, we can look at them physically and we can see they are wearing a helmet, and they do have on one of the greater tactical vests. So you're able to use this to figure out, is your line of sight blocked by something? Is there an obstacle in the way? Things of that nature. One thing you'll notice is that with the ACOG installed, I can still use night vision goggles while using aimed mode. Unfortunately, because the night vision for the 7SB is a single view optic. What that means is while the eyepiece goes over your eyes, the front of it is just one monocular point. You don't get stereoscopic adjustment, so if you're adjusting focus or anything, it's just the one lens that's converted to both eyes. So trying to line up to take a shot, you're not looking out of right eye, left eye. It's sort of like Cyclops right in the middle. So as you can imagine, trying to line up that center piece with any of your optics, it's going to be really awkward. So once your night vision has been lowered and turned on, you lose the ability to look through any scope's optic. For that reason, people that are using smaller and lighter weapon systems, such as this one with an ACOG, you are still able to have your night vision turned on and use aimed mode. You're just looking over the sight, but you're still able to get fairly accurate, effective fire. In the case of a sniper, on the other hand, you are unable to look over the scope. You have two choices, which is to either hip fire, snap fire. Generally, though, you're going to be using the optic itself. That's pretty much the point of a sniper anyways, precision fire. So even with the night vision goggles, if you're trying to get those long range shots, you lose night vision capability, which is why they'll generally carry night vision scope. You will have limited range as compared to some of your other optics, which are 600, 800, 1,000 meters. These ones are at 250. But you still have the ability to use your scope during the night. The only difference between the different night vision optics is going to be, as you can see, they all have that 250 meter range. The only difference is going to be the mount that they are attachable to. For example, somebody with a G36 will have to use one of the G36 mounts. Someone with the AK will have to have a side plate mounting, which is what the generic AKs will use. Same with SVDs. The AHKs have a claw mount on top. WR is for Weaver rail, which will fit on the standard Weaver types, such as the M16, M4s with their detachable carry handle. That pretty much will include all your night vision, different accessories, so that'll be the end of this video.